In this 5th video series on how to hook up a straight key to your Linux computer, we're going to show you a method to have a QSO over the internet with another op doing the same thing you are on their Linux computer. So I've got 2 computers in the house here on the local area network, both using CWIRC and a serial port and a key, straight key, hooked to each of the serial port pins. The DTR and the CTS are the DSR pin. On my laptop here, you can see CWIRC working, and then on the other computer in the other room, I have a 50-foot cable with a serial port going back and forth, so I can operate it from here in the living room too. So here's what it sounds like. And on mine. So we're doing this with an application called Seren. This is a native Linux application that works from the terminal. So you can activate Seren and then run it from the terminal once you connect to each other. It's a mesh network, peer-to-peer mesh network. So once you connect to one, if there's more than one person, you can have up to 10 people hooked up to Seren at once. And you'll see them gathering on the nodes here on this right side. Here's the app we're speaking about. And some information about it, and that'll be in the show notes. I just wanted to basically show you the setup here. This works very well, and it's really nice and convenient having it operate from the terminal itself. The command line is down here, so you can send text messages. And that should show up right there. You can talk to each other and as far as texting goes, and use your straight key. If you wanted to, you could also hook up a mic as a backup. Let me show you the basic wiring diagram here to get this running. And we're using Pulse Audio and the Pulse Audio Module Jack plugin so that we can operate inside the Jack Audio connection bay, and I like CATIA for that. So let me run through the wiring diagram here. Once you load up Jack and you've got Pulse Audio working, the Pulse Audio Jack bridge. Let me show you that from Cadence here. So we have this Jack bridge here, but that's started. Once you've started that, you can create new ones, more bridges, using, let's see if I can find that here. There we go. PACMD. That'll load as many Jack sinks or sources as you want. So I've just individually named them. Then using the Pulse Audio volume control, you can tell each application which one to use. Very convenient. You have to have Pulse Audio 6 or higher. So as the wiring goes, on my side, when I activate CWIRC, goes into a bandpass filter first, since CWIRC's rise time is only about 2 milliseconds. So this helps to soften down the edge noise a little bit. So from the left channel only, since I'm not using stereo, I can use 2 apps and 1 filter, one for the left side and the other one for the right side. So on this left channel, it comes out and goes to the system, which is my sound card, so I can hear it. Goes to the Sarin input so the other op can hear it over the internet, to this screen recorder that I'm using, meters, and then the Seren that I'm hearing from the other op. Seren comes in and goes to the same filtering system. We're using a low bitrate on Seren. Because of that, you're going to get some low bitrate hash on the edges too. It's not that annoying, really. You may not prefer to use a filter or not. It's up to you. So output from the right side, again, goes to my sound card. Does not go to back to the Seren input. That's one thing you want to make sure of. That your output of Seren doesn't work its way back to the input. And you'll get a massive feedback. And it's very annoying and frustrating. And we're also going to the screen recorder, to the meter, the right side of the meters, so I can see and keep a track on the other OPS signal, how strong it is. And this is just my USB microphone. Again, some LV2 plugins to help the recording sound a little bit better than it would otherwise. And that's basically the setup. So once you've downloaded Seren, you'll get a tar file. You have to unzip it. And once you do that, then you have to do, /configure and all that, and then make install. And that'll be in the Seren instructions that you get on the website here. It has some dependencies, so you have to make sure you have all this. I also found that it called for library n curses without the W5, lib n curses 5-dev. So I also downloaded that from Synaptic too. Here's the instructions. And here's some of the terminal commands. So you can look through that on your own time there, if you're interested. Here's some more documentation. Both these links will be in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about copying them down. So once inside here and you get it all loaded up, installed, compiled, and up on your system. Once it's installed too, if you do the make install, then you don't have to go to a certain terminal. You just go right to any terminal and type in Seren. And then I use this. I won't load it up, but I'll show you what we do. And that's how it starts. I'll go ahead and describe this a little bit. The -D is the device, and I'm going to use Pulse so that I can use those jack bridges and be able to create a wiring diagram inside this connection bay here. The -A is mean it automatically answers. So if your friend calls you, you don't have to find the enable, go ahead and answer the call pop-up message. The -N is your nickname. So I just use the call sign here. Once you've done that and then load it up, it'll start like this, but you still have to connect. So to connect, you just go, and you can see here that it says CLR and those green letters. That means I'm not using any encryption. So it comes standard as a default with encryption enabled, and it's got 2 or 3 different modes or types of encryption that you can use. If that concerns you, it already defaults to that. So I'm not really concerned about Morse code being encrypted. So I just put clear. It's probably not a big issue for the CPU, so it's probably not that big of a deal. It's not going to decrease latency or anything like that if you don't use it. And then you hit /C for connect, and then you give the IP address. So you have to do the IP address of that actually is the external IP address from the person's router. Your external IP address and their external IP address. So if you're calling them or they're calling you, you need that external IP address. Just type that in there and hit enter, and it should connect. Now you need to port forward 810. It should be, there it is, 8110 right here. So you have to get into your router software and do a port forwarding to 8110 to your Seren computer, so that any outside calls coming in will default to that Seren computer because your router has that port forwarding set up on port 8110. And it'll go right to your computer and connect right with Seren here. Now let's talk a little bit about what's on the outside, the right side here on this nodes. So when I key, you can see that those number signs are actually an ASCII VU meter. So underneath my call sign there, we get a VU meter. And then underneath KF0UJ's call sign, you see the same VU meter. So you can kind of keep a track on how strong that signal is. If it gets a little bit too weak, it'll show up here in the VU meter. Now this 2 dashes underneath KF0UJ means that he is not using any encryption. If he was using some encryption, it would have a special designator right there. Now the 0 means that there's minimal delay from there to here, and which should be the case since we're on the LAN, not that far apart. And the second number is the buffer amount of milliseconds of buffer that's stored up. So in other words, this will store up a buffer before it sends it to each local Seren output. And that helps keep things from audio popping and cracking so that you can get up to 500 milliseconds of buffering. And it just depends on how much is needed. The down arrow is the bandwidth coming to me, and of course the upload. So download bandwidth, upload bandwidth. Down here on the bottom, we have the mic, which is a meter. So it has its own meter down here. This is transmit information. And it gives you an idea of what percent that is of the input. So we're about 48% strength. And we also have bandwidth meters here on my transmit. So this is how much I'm sending up and how much is coming back to me. And the PL is the packet loss ratio. So far we don't have any packet loss. We're both on wired Ethernet connections, which helps to minimize it. If you're on wireless, this may go up a little bit. May or may not work as well as wired. You have to give it a try and see if it's inconvenient to set up an Ethernet cable from your position to the switch or router where it's located. So we have CWIRC, just to review, sending Morse code, audio tones, going through a bandpass filter, going to my sound card and to the Seren input. From the other person, which is KF0UJ, coming in to my laptop here. It's going through Seren output, which is a pulse audio jack bridge, a module, pulse audio module that I've been able to name. You need pulse audio 6 or higher to do that. Otherwise it won't work. Anyway, we're going through the filter again to the sound card so I can hear it, screen card, a meter so I can read it. You can also, of course, like I said, you can send a text message here as well. So you can go back and forth. So if something happens and you need to speak, you can do that. If you wanted to, you could also take a microphone right over to the Seren input too. Check 1, 2. I can hear myself coming out of the other room with the speakers. Check 1, 2. Check, check, check. So that you can use that as a backup. And with this gate, if you're not speaking into the microphone, it won't activate. So that's one thing I like about this. And if you wanted to have both of these going at the same time. And these are just some voice plugins, LV2 plugins, that help the video sound a little bit better if I otherwise wouldn't use them. And I think that's basically it in a nutshell here. Seren's a really good app. I really like it a lot. It just makes it really convenient to get this running, and it's using the OPUS codec, and it's just like other voice chat programs, just a little bit different since you're operating it from the terminal. It uses a little bit less CPU than Mumble does and other apps like that, other voice chat apps. And it's encrypted, and it's a P2P mesh network, so you can have up to 10 people at once sharing these nodes. So each person that connects, and you can connect to any other person's IP address and it'll work. It'll connect to the others automatically through this Seren software. So if we had 3 or 4 other ops here, everybody could hear everybody else. And you would get little metering systems on all of them. So anyway, it's just another idea. It's worth the learning curve as well. Anything that's new is going to take you a while to figure it out. But I found it not that difficult. It has some pretty good documentation. And with the test set up here in the house, I thought it worked really good and was worth investigating. Thanks for watching.